For 47 agonizing days, the machines breathed for her. The doctors had signed the papers. The lawyers had drawn up the documents. Every neurologist from Lagos University Teaching Hospital to the specialists at Johns Hopkins said the exact same thing. She's gone, sir. There's no brain activity. It's time to let her go. Chief Emmanuel Okonkwo had spent millions of naira, millions of dollars, and consulted the world's best medical minds. They all ran their tests, studied their scans, and delivered the same verdict with practiced sympathy. Brainstem death. Incompatible with consciousness. There is nothing more we can do, Chief. But then, a night shift gateman saw something in her eyes that made him break the one rule that could send him to Kirikiri prison. And what he discovered about that child's condition will leave you speechless. Chief Emmanuel Okonkwo was not just rich. He was a phenomenon. He was the founder and CEO of Afritech Solutions, the youngest tech billionaire in Nigeria's history, a man who had built an empire from nothing but code, ambition, and relentless vision. He commanded boardrooms in Lagos, London, and Silicon Valley. He had luxury properties across 3 continents, a fleet of Range Rovers with bulletproof glass, and wealth that most Nigerians would never see in 10 lifetimes. But his daughter Zainab was declared brain dead. 12 years old, a chess prodigy, a musical genius who could play Beethoven by ear, and she lay motionless in the ICU, trapped behind machines that clicked and hummed with artificial life. She had never opened her eyes since the accident. She had never squeezed her father's hand. She had never said "Daddy" again. Chief Okonkwo tried everything. The neurological specialists at Luth, the private medical suites in Germany, the experimental trauma centers in Boston, doctors who charged $50,000 just for a consultation. They ran EEGs, CT scans, MRIs, functional brain imaging. All of them said the same thing. Massive pontine hemorrhage. Catastrophic brainstem injury. She's gone, Chief. The person you knew is no longer there. It's time to make peace with this. Time to let her go. But Chief Okonkwo couldn't accept it, because Zainab was all he had left. His wife, Amina, had died, giving birth to this brilliant, beautiful child. She never got to see Zainab's first steps. She never got to hear her daughter play the piano. So Chief Okonkwo kept fighting, kept spending, kept begging God and every imam in Nigeria for a miracle. He sat at her bedside every evening, talking to a daughter the doctors said couldn't hear him, holding a hand they said couldn't feel him, loving a child they said was already gone. What he didn't know was that the answer wasn't coming from a specialist in Europe. It wasn't coming from an American hospital with cutting-edge technology. It was coming from the man he had just hired to open his gates. Ibrahim was a gateman, 35 years old. He had once been a doctor, a decorated emergency physician with steady hands and sharper instincts. But in the brutal politics of Lagos medicine, a medical license didn't protect you when you became a scapegoat. He had no connections, no godfather to shield him, just a man trying to survive and support his aging mother. He took the only job available, opening gates for people who once called him doctor and now barely saw him as human. But Ibrahim noticed something about Zainab that every specialist with their prestigious credentials had missed. Something in her eyes. Something subtle, desperate, alive. And one chaotic night during a massive Nipah blackout, while the hospital scrambled in darkness, he made a decision that would either save that girl's life or send him to prison for the rest of his. The private medical center stretched across 2 pristine acres in Ikoyi, one of the most exclusive areas in Lagos. From the outside, it looked like a sanctuary. Tall walls topped with security cameras, manicured lawns, glass and steel architecture that gleamed under the harsh Nigerian sun, and the kind of silence that only money can buy. Mercedes and Range Rovers lined the VIP parking area. Inside, everything was temperature-controlled, sanitized, efficient. But in the ICU wing, there was a different kind of silence. Not the peaceful kind you find in a chapel. Not the kind that feels like rest after a long day navigating Lagos traffic. This silence was suffocating, heavy, final, like the silence of a tomb that everyone had already sealed. The kind of silence that whispers, "She's already gone. Stop hoping. Let her go." Chief Emmanuel Okonkwo was not just rich. He was a phenomenon. At 42 years old, he had built Afritech Solutions from nothing. A boy from Enugu who learned to code on a borrowed laptop and turned lines of code into Nigeria's largest tech empire. He commanded boardrooms in Lagos, London, and Silicon Valley. Forbes called him Africa's youngest tech visionary. He had luxury properties across 3 continents, a fleet of armored Range Rovers, and more wealth than most Nigerians would see in 10 lifetimes. But none of it mattered now. His daughter Zainab was 12 years old. She could solve complex chess problems in her head. She played Beethoven on the piano by ear. She spoke 3 languages fluently and was teaching herself Mandarin from YouTube videos. She was brilliant, curious, fearless. Everything her mother had been before childbirth took her away. It was supposed to be their day, father and daughter. Chief Okonkwo had cleared his entire calendar. No board meetings, no conference calls, just Zainab. They were driving back from the new art museum on Victoria Island when the trailer lost control on the third mainland bridge. The impact was catastrophic. Metal screaming, glass shattering, Zainab's head hitting the reinforced window at an angle that changed everything. The diagnosis came within hours: massive pontine hemorrhage, catastrophic brainstem injury. The chief neurologist at Luth spoke in that practiced, sympathetic tone doctors reserve for delivering death sentences. The damage is incompatible with consciousness, Chief. I'm very sorry. But Chief Okonkwo couldn't accept it. He flew in specialists from Germany, from Boston, from Singapore. They ran every test modern medicine could offer: EEGs, CT scans, MRIs, functional brain imaging. 47 days of consultations. 47 days of second opinions. 47 days of the same words echoing in sterile conference rooms. She's gone, sir. The brain activity is absent. It's time to make peace with this. His family urged him to let go. His board members whispered concerns about his mental state. The hospital administrator spoke delicately about resource allocation and difficult decisions. They had scheduled a meeting 72 hours from now. A final decision had to be made. Chief Okonkwo sat in his daughter's ICU room, watching the machines that kept her body alive. Outside, Lagos moved without caring. Inside, a father who had built an empire from nothing couldn't save the one person who mattered most. I can move markets with a phone call, he whispered to the silent room. I can make governments listen. But I can't wake you up. Ibrahim Musa arrived at the Ikoyi Medical Center at exactly 7 p.m., just as the Lagos sun was bleeding into the horizon. He wore the brown security uniform that marked him as invisible, another face the wealthy patients would look through on their way to their private suites. He nodded to the day shift gateman and took his position at the main entrance. 35 years old, opening gates for people who once called him doctor. 3 years ago, Ibrahim had been different. Dr. Ibrahim Musa, emergency medicine physician at Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. He had steady hands and sharper instincts. He could read a patient's vitals the way others read newspapers. Quick, accurate, instinctive. His colleagues respected him. His patients trusted him. His mother was proud. Then came the night that destroyed everything. A political figure, a senator's brother, rushed into emergency surgery after a car accident. Ibrahim's supervising surgeon, Dr. Odili, was drunk. Ibrahim could smell it on his breath, see it in his trembling hands. But Dr. Odili had connections that reached into the medical council itself. When the patient died on the table from a catastrophic surgical error, someone had to take the blame. It wasn't going to be Dr. Odili. The hearing lasted 3 hours. Ibrahim's medical license was revoked for gross negligence and professional misconduct. His supervising surgeon testified against him. The senator's family demanded justice. Ibrahim became the sacrifice that kept the system clean. Career destroyed. Reputation shattered. Family shamed. For 3 years, he had worked as a security guard, a store clerk, a taxi driver, anything to support his aging mother. The gateman position at Ikoyi Medical Center paid better than most. He took it without hesitation. Never again, he whispered to himself on his first night. Keep your head down. Stay invisible. You're not a doctor anymore. His first patrol took him past the private ICU wing. Through the observation window, he could see the expensive rooms where the wealthy died in comfort. He kept walking. It wasn't his business anymore, but something made him stop. In room 7, a young girl lay motionless on the bed. Ventilator tube, multiple IV lines, the full life support apparatus. Her father sat beside her, head bowed, holding her hand. Ibrahim's eyes went to the girl's face, and his medical instincts, buried but never dead, flared like a match in darkness. The muscle tension around her eyes, the slight furrow in her brow, the way her eyelids weren't completely still. His breath caught in his throat. That's not brain death, he whispered. That's someone trapped and screaming. Every night for the next week, Ibrahim found reasons to walk past room 7 during his patrol rounds. He would pause at the observation window, pretending to check his radio while his eyes studied the girl on the bed. The specialists had declared her brain dead. The machine showed flat lines where consciousness should be. But Ibrahim saw what the machines couldn't measure. Micro-tear production at the corner of her right eye when her father spoke. Subtle tension in her facial muscles during the evening medical checks. The way her eyelids would flutter, not randomly, but in response to voices, to touch, to the opening and closing of the door. He watched Chief Okonkwo's nightly vigils through the glass. The powerful man would sit beside his daughter, talking to her as if she could hear him. Zainab, if you're in there, give me a sign. Anything. Please, baby. Just come back to me. He would read to her from her favorite books. play recordings of her own piano performances on his phone, beg God, beg fate, beg the universe for a miracle. And Ibrahim would see it. That subtle shift in the girl's expression when her father's voice rose and fell. The slight movement of her pupils beneath closed lids. The hospital administrator, Dr. Okoli, visited Chief Okonkwo frequently. Ibrahim could hear fragments through the door. "We understand your pain, Chief, but the ICU suite is desperately needed. 3 critical patients are waiting. We have to consider the living." Ibrahim spent his days off at the public library in Yaba, hunched over medical journals he could access for free. He searched. Brain death, locked-in syndrome, pontine hemorrhage, consciousness without motor function. The more he read, the more certain he became. Locked-in syndrome, a rare condition where damage to the brainstem leaves patients completely paralyzed but fully conscious. They can hear, they can think, they can feel everything, but they can't move, can't speak, can't scream. To the untrained eye, they look exactly like brain-death patients. And the medical establishment missed it constantly. But certainty warred with terror in Ibrahim's chest. What if he was wrong? What if 3 years of bitterness had made him see things that weren't there? What if he was projecting his own desperate need for redemption onto a truly brain-dead child? What if I'm wrong again? He whispered to himself in the small room he rented in Surulere. The 72-hour countdown began. He overheard the nurses talking. Chief Okonkwo had scheduled the final family meeting. Thursday at 2 p.m., the decision would be made. His mother found him awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling. "What troubles you, my son?" He told her everything. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "A doctor's duty doesn't end when they take away the license. It ends when your heart stops beating." On Tuesday morning, Ibrahim approached the head nurse during shift change. His heart pounded as he found his voice. "Ma, I've been observing the patient in room 7. I think there might be..." Nurse Adaiz cut him off with a look that could freeze blood. "Observing? You're a security guard, Mr. Ibrahim. You open gates, you check IDs. You are not qualified to observe patients." She turned back to her charts. "Stay in your lane." "But I used to be." "I don't care what you used to be. This is medicine. Know your place." That evening, Ibrahim waited in the hallway as Chief Okonkwo emerged from his daughter's room. The man looked hollowed out, a shell of the powerful executive whose face appeared in business magazines. Ibrahim stepped forward. "Sir, please, I need to tell you something about your daughter." Chief Okonkwo stopped, his eyes red from crying. "Yes, sir, I think the doctors might be wrong. I've been watching her, and I see signs of consciousness. The way her eyes move, the tear production, the muscle responses, these aren't consistent with brain death. I think she might have locked-in syndrome." The chief's expression shifted from grief to something harder. "You've been watching my daughter." "Sir, I'm trying to help. You're a gateman." Chief Okonkwo's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You open gates, that's what I pay you to do. Not to play doctor with my dying child. Not to give me false hope when I'm trying to make the hardest decision of my life." He stepped closer. "Know your place." By Wednesday, Ibrahim's security supervisor called him into the office. "I've received complaints. The nurses say you're harassing them with medical opinions. The chief himself complained about you bothering him." He leaned forward. "One more incident of you overstepping your boundaries, and you're finished here. Understood?" In the gatehouse, his fellow security guards laughed. "Dr. Wade, the open gate," Joseph mocked. "You don forget your level? Abeg, leave medicine for doctors and do your work." Through the administration building windows, Ibrahim could see Dr. Okoli meeting with Chief Okonkwo. He couldn't hear the words, but he could read the body language. The pressure. The urgency. 3 high-priority patients waiting. Signed by tomorrow evening. Legal complications if you delay further. That night, Ibrahim sat in his room, paralyzed by the familiar terror. The last time he'd spoken truth to power, it had destroyed him. The courtroom flashed in his memory. The judge's gavel, his mother weeping in the gallery, his career ending with a single pronouncement. Stay silent, and survive. Or speak and lose everything again. He looked at the small mirror on his wall, and saw a coward staring back. "Not again," he whispered. "I cannot be silent while a child dies." Thursday night, 9:47 p.m. Nipah struck Lagos like it always did, without warning, without mercy. The city plunged into darkness. Car horns erupted across Ikoyi as traffic lights died. Generators roared to life in compounds across the island. At Ikoyi Medical Center, the backup generators kicked in immediately. For 30 seconds, everything was fine. Then the ICU wing went dark. The backup system had failed. Emergency protocols activated instantly. Red battery-powered lights flickered on in the hallways. Alarms shrieked. Nurses sprinted toward the supply room, where the mobile ventilator units were stored. Ibrahim was in the hallway when it happened. Through the observation window, he could see Zainab's ventilator screen going black. The machine that breathed for her had stopped. 4 minutes. That's how long a brain could survive without oxygen, before permanent damage set in. He could hear the nurses shouting, fumbling in the dark supply room. The mobile units were buried behind other equipment. They'd never make it in time. His choice crystallized in that moment: break protocol, or let her die. Ibrahim ran into room 7. In the darkness, his hands found the manual ventilation bag attached to the wall. He began squeezing it rhythmically, forcing air into Zainab's lungs. 1 breath. 2 breaths. Keep the rhythm steady. With his free hand he pulled out his phone. The flashlight illuminated her face. And he saw them, her pupils, contracting in response to the sudden light. His medical training took over. He held the light to the left. Her eyes tracked it. To the right. They followed. Up. Down. Precise. Deliberate. Impossible for a brain-dead patient. His hands trembled as he continued ventilating her. Zainab, he whispered. If you can hear me, if you understand me, look up for yes. Look down for no. Her eyes snapped upward. Tears spilled from them, running down her motionless face. Ibrahim's breath caught. Have you been awake this whole time? Yes. Can you hear everything we say? Up. Yes. Are you scared? Up. 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 Yes. 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 Ibrahim was weeping now, still squeezing the ventilation bag with mechanical precision. You're not alone anymore, he choked out. I see you. I see you, Zainab. You're not gone. The lights blazed back on. The head nurse stood in the doorway, frozen in shock. The gateman was at the bedside, touching the patient, tears streaming down his face. Security, she screamed. Unauthorized contact with a critical patient. Within seconds, 2 guards burst in. Chief Okonkwo was right behind them, his face twisted in rage. What have you done? He roared. Get away from her. They grabbed Ibrahim's arms, yanking him away from the bed. She's conscious, Ibrahim shouted as they dragged him backward. She has locked-in syndrome. She's been awake the whole time. Test her. Please, just test her. Chief Okonkwo's voice shook with fury and anguish. You've given me false hope, you cruel man. You violated my direct order. You've touched my dying daughter. He turned to security. Arrest him. I want him charged with assault. She can hear you, Ibrahim cried as they forced him into the hallway. Ask her. Make her look up for yes. But the door slammed shut, and Ibrahim was dragged toward the exit, handcuffed, his desperate pleas echoing off the sterile walls. The holding cell at Ikoyi police station smelled of sweat, urine, and despair. Ibrahim sat on the concrete bench, still in his security uniform, hands cuffed behind his back. The charges: assault, unauthorized patient contact, impersonating medical personnel. Across Lagos, Chief Okonkwo sat in the hospital administrator's office at 2 a.m., pen hovering over the disconnection papers. His hand shook. Dr. Okoli stood nearby, voice gentle but firm. We've scheduled it for 9 a.m., Chief. It's time. The gateman's delusions have only made this harder. Chief Okonkwo signed. Dr. Adeyemi, the chief of neurology, couldn't sleep. He sat in his office reviewing the incident report, preparing documentation to justify the assault charges. A gateman claiming locked-in syndrome. Delusional. Clearly overstepping. But something nagged at him. How does a gateman know to test for vertical eye movement? He muttered. That was a specialized neurological assessment. Not common knowledge. Not something you learned from Google. He pulled up Ibrahim's employment file, then his background check. His eyes widened. Dr. Ibrahim Musa, LASU Teaching Hospital. Emergency medicine. License revoked 2021. Political scapegoating. The Odili case. Drive. Adeyemi remembered it now. The brilliant young physician destroyed to protect a connected surgeon. He was one of the best emergency physicians in Lagos, Dr. Adeyemi whispered. He grabbed his phone and called the night radiologist. Pull every scan we have on the Okonkwo girl. And prep the EEG and fMRI machines. Now. Sir, it's 2:30 a.m. The disconnection is scheduled for. I said now. At 4:17 a.m., Dr. Adeyemi sat staring at the monitor, his hands trembling. The advanced EEG showed full cognitive function. The fMRI revealed an active, alert cerebral cortex, normal thought patterns, normal sensory processing. She was awake, fully, completely, terrifyingly awake. He pulled up the original scans from 47 days ago. There, the shadow they'd all missed. A pontine hemorrhage in precisely the location that would sever motor pathways, while leaving consciousness intact. It mimicked brain death perfectly, he breathed. A 1 in 10 million diagnostic presentation. His phone buzzed. An email forwarded by a concerned ICU nurse. Dr. Okoli's correspondence with 3 wealthy families, discussing facilitation fees for ICU suite access, pressure to clear the bed, financial incentives to expedite the disconnection. Dr. Adeyemi stormed into the administrator's office. Dr. Okoli looked up from his desk, startled. "You were willing to kill a conscious child for money?" Dr. Adeyemi's voice was deadly quiet. "What are you?" "She's awake. She's been awake for 47 days. The Gateman was right." Dr. Okoli's face went pale. Dr. Adeyemi grabbed his phone and dialed Chief Okonkwo's number. It rang, and rang. "Chief Okonkwo, this is Dr. Adeyemi. You need to come to the hospital immediately. Your daughter is fully awake. She's been conscious for 47 days. She has locked-in syndrome. The Gateman was right. Chief, your daughter has been hearing everything. Every word. Every goodbye. She's been awake the entire time." The phone clattered on the other end. Then a sound. Something between a scream and a sob. "What have I almost done?" Chief Okonkwo's voice cracked. "Dear God, what have I almost done?" Chief Okonkwo's convoy screamed through Lagos at 5 a.m., sirens wailing, traffic scattering. He burst into Ikeyi police station like a man possessed. "Where is he? Where is Ibrahim Musa?" They led him to the holding cells. Ibrahim sat on the concrete bench, head bowed, exhausted. When he looked up and saw the chief, he expected more rage. Instead, Chief Emmanuel Okonkwo fell to his knees outside the bars. "Forgive me," he choked out. "I called you nothing. I told you to know your place. But you are my daughter's salvation. You saw her when I was blind." 20 minutes later, Ibrahim sat in the back of Chief Okonkwo's Range Rover, the handcuffs removed, racing toward the hospital. Neither man spoke. There were no words big enough. In room 7, Dr. Adeyemi had prepared a simple communication board. Chief Okonkwo approached his daughter's bedside, his hands shaking. "Zainab," his voice cracked. "My daughter, if you can hear me, if you understand me, look up for yes." Her eyes moved. Strong, deliberate, unmistakable. Chief Okonkwo collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. "I love you more than all the stars in heaven. I'm so sorry I almost gave up on you. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Up, Ibrahim stood respectfully at the door, tears streaming down his face. Chief Okonkwo looked back at him. "Come here. You don't stand at the door anymore. You are family now." Ibrahim approached the bedside. He took Zainab's hand gently. "You are the bravest person I've ever met," he said softly. Her eyes moved up. "Thank you." The press conference 3 days later sent shockwaves through Nigeria's medical community. Dr. Adeyemi revealed the catastrophic misdiagnosis, the 1 in 10 million pontine hemorrhage, the 47 days of consciousness trapped in paralysis. Dr. Okoli and 3 administrators were suspended pending investigation. The medical council launched a review of brain death protocols nationwide. Chief Okonkwo assembled the country's best legal team. Within 6 weeks, Ibrahim's medical license was reinstated, his record cleared, his reputation restored. The announcement came in a grand ballroom at the Eco Hotel, the Okonkwo Medical Institute for Neurological Research, dedicated to locked-in syndrome detection and treatment across Africa. Dr. Ibrahim Musa was named Director of Emergency Neurological Response. 8 months later, Zainab sat in a specialized wheelchair, an eye-tracking computer mounted in front of her. Her eyes moved across the keyboard on the screen, selecting letters. The computer's voice spoke her words. "Daddy, I heard every word you said to me. I knew you wouldn't give up." Chief Okonkwo wept. She typed again. "Uncle Ibrahim, you saw me when I was invisible. Thank you for breaking the rules." Chief Okonkwo traveled across Africa now, speaking at medical conferences, TED stages, university auditoriums. The Locked-In Syndrome Awareness Campaign saved 17 misdiagnosed patients in its first year. At Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ibrahim Musa stood before a classroom of young medical students, wearing his white coat again. "Medicine isn't about credentials or protocols," he told them. "It's about truly seeing the person in front of you, even when the machines, the experts, and the world tell you you're wrong. Sometimes the most radical thing a healer can do is trust what their eyes tell them, and their heart confirms." Zainab's 13th birthday party filled the Okonkwo estate with music and laughter. She typed messages to guests, her text-to-speech voice joining the celebration. On the screen a new message appeared. "I'm going to be a neurologist. No one should be invisible like I was." Ibrahim and Chief Okonkwo stood together, watching her type. "You gave me back my daughter," the chief said quietly. "She gave me back my purpose," Ibrahim replied. Zainab's fingers moved across the eye-tracking keyboard one more time. Her typed words appeared on the screen for everyone to see, "And we all gave each other back hope."